All right, guys, here we are again. It's this tonight. It's just going to be me and Collin. I decided to do me and Collin again because we go kind of more off the rails. We've been doing a lot of the religious things, so tonight I think we're going to get more into politics and world. What would you call it, Collin? More world politics or
worldly, but the lines blur when we talk about what we want to talk about. With Cody asked me what we want to talk about tonight, and I said, let's talk about finance. Let's start at the beginning. And the lines blur between religion and finance very quickly, as we will be talking about tonight. Didn't mean to interrupt you, but that's kind of where I wanted to
thanks
start.
For jumping in.
Okay.
So I kind of held you back in the pre-show because you were starting to explain what you want to talk about. And I wanted to get it out when it was fresh. So let's go ahead and hit this hard.
Yeah. So everyone, let me first preface this all by saying something that I've noticed and get very frustrated with when I watch commentary or things like this on the internet is a lot of people act like they know exactly what they're talking about and are 100% correct on their position. My rule of thumb is anyone that does that is selling something, or it's an ego trip, or you gotta have a grain of salt, several grains of salt for people like that. So let me start off by saying I do not have a full grasp on the reality of our situation. There's hints, there's ways to look at the world, and one of my techniques it's not my technique, a technique that I use is reverse engineering. Basically, especially when you're talking about history, I mean, Cody, what do we really know what happened 100 years ago? Like, how well do we know? I mean, we know people that lived back then, so we have a better reference point, but were we there? Did we see it? Did they even see what they were seeing? Or were they seeing a story that was told to them?
The thing that I like about talking to people from World War II, because that would have been their generational time, is history is the way. It's not just a recording of facts. It's what was your perspective on history.
Yeah, there's a famous French poet. I'm trying to remember his name. I'll look it up later. But basically, he was he was a journalist, and he went over in World War I. And one of his famous lines is, "It's not so important that you report what you see, but that you see what you see." And I that will always live with me, that the individual's lived perception of their reality is kind of your news channel. If you're relying on news from external sources to go, okay, that's the truth, you have to create a mental framework for yourself that's cohesive enough, a mental map that maps out reality in front of you that makes sense, and be constantly willing to update your software and firmware along the way. You can't just say, I have it all figured out and I know it all. Anyone that acts like they know everything is insane or a liar or arrogant or whatever. Take your pick. There's a real competitive space out there for attention and eyeballs, so everyone wants to act like they're the fundamental expert. And if COVID and all this crap the last 5 years has taught us anything, is should we really be trusting the so-called experts implicitly just because they're experts? I would argue that anyone that claims they're an expert on something, be a little dubious about it. It doesn't mean they don't have a wide base of knowledge, but what they lack is breadth of context. Like, a plumber is really good at plumbing a specific task, but is he good at the whole building project? Probably not. But he probably has some insight into it. But you don't rely on the plumber to build the whole thing out.
The thing I always thought was interesting is when I read the book, The Complete History of the Third Reich, which was written by a person he was a reporter, and he just accumulated his notes and put together a book, and it was his perspective of what was going on. And he even said that your perspective is not always truth. And then I've always had kind of a mixed opinion on Neil deGrasse Tyson, but he had a very strong point on this last week. It's like a truly intelligent person has to admit when they're not correct, or admit that that they don't know enough to be 100% certain.
Yeah, that's real rich coming from Neil.
I know. I'm like, he's such a pompous ass.
And people say that, and then they go off and act as if their initial presuppositions are 100% correct. Like, you will never convince Neil deGrasse Tyson that the Big Bang is not the complete story. That's his initial presupposition. He will always stand by that's what happened. And he built his mental map framework off of that initial point. And ignores all the other subsets like consciousness or all these the more esoteric metaphysical aspects of reality. He'll ignore that completely as just woo-woo nonsense, which it's absolutely not. Like, and any child could tell you this, but Neil's an expert. So,
well, he says he's an expert on the universe. That's the thing.
Yeah, so he's an expert on God. That's pretty. Ooh.
Well, the thing I keep coming back to in every situation I've been involved in, to say it like that, is whatever two opinions are. If like this guy's an expert and this guy's the expert, actually, what's reality is in the middle.
It's somewhere in the middle. Let's put it that way. But it doesn't mean that the two extreme points don't also have points. They're extremes for a reason. Mm-hmm. So it's worth looking at the extremes. Like, I look at the left, and it's really funny how often they're right about their initial criticisms. Like, they're really mad about capitalism, and then people on the right are like, you're against us starting our own small businesses. And it's like, and they kind of are, because they just want egalitarianism. But their criticism of funneling all wealth to a select few group of people is a problem. And the right has not dealt with that at all until recently. That was like conspiracy theory. There's no such thing. It's a free market. Look, we got stakeholders and the stock market's evenly distributed among the population. There's no elite class. Are you crazy? Yeah, there's some rich guys that worked hard and they earned their money. Well, that narrative is totally gone. Thank God, finally. No one can ever say that's the case anymore.
Well, the thing that when I was younger, I thought that everyone, if we're all working in the same direction, everyone's going to seek their own position in the market. But when you get these super companies that just try to wipe out everyone, there's no protection. And
it's like a beast. It just eats. It never stops, and it's not even one person you could point to. It's a whole system. And then you start sounding like a Marxist to like people that watch Mark Levin. They're like, "Are you a Marxist?" I'm like, "No, I'm just saying you guys have you have wild animals that you act are under control, and they're not at all. They are completely out of control."
Well, and then I do believe that the corporations use their mass amounts of money to do whatever the hell they want, and what they can't do with government, they're now doing with corporations. That's like censoring people's speech through medians of YouTube and all that other stuff, which is right. Kind of me saying that is kind of on the edge, because we're on YouTube and we're on all the corporate platforms now.
You can mitigate a lot of risk and exposure to risk through contractors, third parties. That's essentially what corporations are. They're basically central, and now that they're this big, like the biggest corporate entities like Vanguard, State Street, they're their own nation states. They're bigger than nation states in many regards. Like, they could swallow up whole countries if they wanted to. They effectively have. They just play it smarter, because it's like, well, instead of having to deal with the populations of these countries, we'll just manage the financial institutions of said countries and let the internal politicians, will pay them off on pennies on the dollar, and they deal with it, And it's not that it's just like it's done from the corporate head. Anyway, I'm jumping ahead here. This goes very deep because it's not just like, oh, it's just the corporate. Because what are the corporations, right? Like, because the corporations, if you go and talk to any of these CEOs, they're like, man, our hands are tied behind our back and we can't do anything without the government breathing down our back. So it's like, okay, someone's lying here, right? Either the government runs it, the corporations run it, or maybe there's a third party in the mix somewhere, and that is hidden and obscure. Like, there's a series, we should link to this, but I talk about it all the time. It's called The Spider's Web. It's actually a film written by some liberal folks, but it's really good. It's really, really good. And it talks about the hidden financial system of Britain. It's called like Britain's Second Empire. And it talks about, like the Cayman Islands, the Bahamas, the Virgin Islands, like all these extraterritorial entities that have their own sovereign banking system that operate out of the British Empire, the previous British Empire, which is really the current one. It still exists. It's just they traded in their red coats for black suits.
But now they use the might of their corporations to influence political agendas around the world, and
because they got advanced so quickly, and they were the first in on all these entities and countries, and it's not just the British. When I say the British, again, we've talked about this in the past. The English were taken over by the Dutch, basically the Dutch and the continental families after the English Civil War when they cut Charles' head off. Cromwell, I don't think he was aware that was happening at the time. It seems that he realized it at the end when he disbanded Parliament and said, "By God, be gone with ye." And he just disbanded Parliament and became a dictator of England. And he's the only prime minister, or he's the guardian of the realm, or whatever his title was, that's buried in state like he was royal. So they treated him like he was a king, effectively, even though he had no like direct lineage to the family.
The thing I can't understand about that history is that, so you have in like, was it
1860? No, sorry. The Civil War?
No, when you have before the Revolution, the British Civil War, it's like, why did they...
That was 1683, I think.
Yeah. So we were basically on the continent for what? 40 years? We got here at 1620. So like 60 years.
They had forward advance parties there for a while, but you're right. Before we got established, it was probably around then. Yeah.
Yeah, well...
We're shooting from the hip here, folks, so I'm not being too specific here.
I'm not looking at charts or anything.
Yeah.
But
roughly you're right. Yeah.
But it's like, why did they reinstate the king? It's like they overthrew him, and then they brought a king back. It's like, why do they still need the
Where did Charles' son run off to? He ran off to the continent and ended up in the Netherlands.
Okay. So that's the link.
Yes. And he was kind of an idiot. And they love... The Chinese have a term for this. They're called dog kings. You basically put in... when you take over a country, you put somebody in charge that's a blithering idiot, and everyone can see it. It demoralizes you, and it's like, oh man, our own elite are a bunch of morons. They've let this guy in charge. We really don't have any strength. We're a bunch of slaves, and then you just get beaten down, and this will to fight dissipates. It's very effective. It's been done throughout. I mean, like the Chinese have been doing this for thousands of years. It's a very effective strategy. It's not just the Chinese. Everyone does this to some degree.
They learned it from someone. It's not like a new concept.
I mean, we can go back to Mesopotamia. We can go back to, imagine, like, go to Mad Max, which is a fictional thing. But imagine you're a warlord. Yeah, Thunderdome. Imagine you're this warlord, like, dog soldier. I'm dog soldier. I am the top. I am, or man eater or whatever. And you just conquered a tribe. What do? You take your lowest slave and say, okay, you are now running the show here. You tell these scum what to do. And it's like, you're lower than my lowest scum. That's what you are. What did we just go through with Biden?
Yeah,
We literally had
a puppet government.
it was worse than a puppet. It was an obvious thing where it's like, to anyone with an IQ above room temperature was like, this is all fake at this point and nothing's real. And then the insanity starts and people lose hope and people lose their it's a great psychological warfare tool. It demoralizes everybody, even the people that hate him. It's like, how the hell did we let this happen?
I have to bring in, so I know we're going to do a history of like different topics, but the concept that they found all that information on Biden, not Biden, but Obama, and how you set it all up
this was known at the time. Like, anybody with open source intelligence could see, like, okay, yeah, we could see who was orchestrating it. We could see they had all hearsay. It was all nonsense in the beginning. Now it can be proven because everyone needs hard evidence instead of just looking with their eyeballs. Like, they need some document from some doctor or somebody, some self-incrimination thing to say that, oh yeah, we tried to take over the government. Which I get. You kind of need something like that.
Do you think they're removing of USAID, the Institute of Peace, which did more to propagate war than I've ever read about, and the Department of Education? It's like they were using all that stuff to just funnel the money into their pockets so they could go pay these people off to do what they want. It was like a never-ending fund of circle.
I don't know, but because this information isn't public, so I can't say for certain, but I will say that the level of organization,
like the preponderance of the evidence,
I would say, using my common sense and my history and everything else in my gut, that, I mean, I've been looking around at this, like, we should be seeing riots and protests all over the place, based on what happened during the Summer of Love. That was an amazing color revolution operation. This country's never had anything like that. That was all organized. It doesn't mean all those people were paid off. Then people take it that way. It's like everybody on the ground. No, you only need a few select people and a couple of clubs and entities you've set up around to create the infrastructure around a protest, and the people will come just to see what's going on. Then you got bodies. And then you use that with digital media and social media. You can get a riot going, and it's called rent-a-mobs. There's actually whole companies out there, and you can look it up. There are literally, like, there's a company called, like, Rent-a-Mob or Rent a Protest. And you can go online and literally contract these companies to get bodies for a protest or some public event. It's totally legal. You can do that. Anyone can do that. And then you create optics.
Rent a Protest London. Rent a Protest.
There's tons of them.
Crowd on Demand agency.
Crowd on Demand. Yeah, that was the one I was thinking of. Yeah.
Let me share this real quick. This is the top result. I just typed that in. Let's go. This is the top result. Rent a Protest.
Yeah, click on it. It's hilarious. The PR stunts, crowds for corporate events. It's really funny. It's totally illegal. You can do this. There's no law against this.
I swear, I'm looking at this. Request a quote. Look at right here. Request a quote right there.
Yeah, click on it and see what. But then obviously they vet you and they figure. Let's look at the pricing. What do they got? $1 million+ dollars. Yeah.
Under 20.
So they just say, "Oh, you tell us how much you want to spend, and we'll tell you what you get." Yeah. Yeah. No, I mean. And then there's all the black the ones that are, when I say black, I mean hidden. Social media has all kinds of backdoors into it that NGO groups have access to. Like, the DNC has amazing data sets that they get from Google in terms of profiling people so they can do direct targeting for, like, door knocking or things like that on political campaigns. The Republican Party has nothing like that. Like, I've been trying to tell Republicans about this, like, for years now, and they're like, "That's not real." I'm like, "It's on the boomers, dude. I don't know what to tell you. You can't it's until this next generation comes up, we're screwed. Like, they can't even get this.
You can even cross-reference it on Wikipedia. I don't trust Wikipedia, but it's on there.
No, you should. No, you hold everything on with a grain of salt, but you can cross-reference stuff, and that helps. Yeah. So the Summer of Love was what they call a color revolution, and this happened. The Orange Revolution or the Maidan Revolution in Ukraine in 2014 was a color revolution that was manufactured by NGO groups out of the U.S. through USAID. Victoria Nuland was State Department head, was literally down there handing out cookies to protesters during this whole thing. John Kerry went over there, and it was like a whole State Department Obama effort to push this thing, to do a regime change operation in Ukraine, to put their own head in, their own figurehead in, enter in the comedian who plays a piano with his penis, Zelensky, which I'm not kidding, that's literally what he didn't actually do it, but he was a comedian, and that was one of his gimmicks. That was his bits.
What's impressive to me is how much land he owns here in the United States.
Well, owns now, because how much money have we been funneling over there in the last, I don't know, 15 years?
I can't remember where I saw it, but they were saying that he owns a place in like Palm Beach.
Dude, he bought a bank in France for $1.4 billion. Macron sold him a bank. Like, the amount of money, and when we say Zelensky, there's all kinds of people that fall under the entity that we know as Zelensky, okay? Like, these guys aren't like singular hive mind, like evil geniuses. They're slaves, and they're frontmen. And what do frontmen do? They take they're bullet sponges. They're what you point your finger to and blame.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what Zelensky is. He was a comedian actor that played the piano with his penis. Okay, that's who he was. Okay.
This crowd on demand thing, they're saying that if you want to volunteer to be a person on there, you can make $25 to $100 an hour, depending on your ability to bring others in.
Yeah, so it's like a mass marketing scheme or a pyramid. Yeah, you bring your friends in, you get some extra cash.
You want to make $100? Here, hold a sign.
Yeah, if you're an activist, it's a quick way to make money, and a lot of these losers, this is how they make their money, being professional protesters.
Yeah,
there's a whole economy for it.
Well,
and that money gets funneled through NGOs, USAID, and all those other groups. And USAID is just one of many entities, but USAID was like the most gratuitously disgusting. Like, it's offensive how much they were funding operations like this all around the world. So it was kind of like the easiest zit to pop. But there's plenty others.
Well, that makes sense, because I remember one time I don't like getting in crowds as it is, but I was driving through Albuquerque in my car, and it's like a certain time hit, and all of a sudden all the signs go down and they all leave. It's like they were there for the 5 o'clock news, and then they're gone. And I was like, is this coordinated? Why?
Yeah, it is.
As soon as the camera guy leaves, all the crowd disappears and goes off into the blue ethers.
Yeah. You cannot, like, this isn't, even the French Revolution was coordinated, for God's sake. There is no mass protest out there that was just magically conjured from the earth. There's, of course, organizers around it, even for good protests, or what we would call good protests. It requires planning, because you want to be effective. So you go, well, okay, well, let's be as effective as possible with the tools we have. And it's all on board. It's all legal. There's nothing illegal about it. Everyone signs off on it. Congress pays it out and gives them de facto clearance to do this stuff, because they do these omnibus bills and says, no, you take that money and we don't really care what you do with it, because we have inspector generals that supposedly answer to the president that don't, and that oversee all this stuff. So we wipe our hands of all the risk if you guys do anything illegal.
That's why they have the GMOs, non-governmental entities, or whatever.
NGOs, yeah. Yeah, NGOs, yeah. Yeah, they're basically contractors. They're non-governmental organizations. I mean, come on. It's like, it's in the name. Okay. It basically means like they don't directly work for the government, except they get paid through third parties and the money comes through the government, and they happen to all sync up with, I don't know, singular issue sets. So yeah, all this shit's been manufactured. I'm sorry. I'm trying not to cuss, but all this crap's been made. All this
write
is
down the time.
Yeah, my bad. All this stuff has been manufactured. 26/18. Collin made a whoopsies.
No, you're fine. I'll get it out.
Anyway, yeah, but that's an important point. That's something to kind of get into your registry of understanding that anytime you see a protest out there, it's been managed. Every single time.
Yeah,
It's amazing that most people don't even think about that.
Well, why would your mind go there?
Because most people are decent, good people, and they don't project their own. They're like, well, why would somebody want to do this? That's a part of the problem. We have a very Americans. I love Americans more than any other people group because we have the most F you attitude of anyone on the planet I've ever seen. But we are the most naive people I've ever encountered. It's worse than it's so bad.
I've always equated it to when you get an American individual. You talk to all the individual people, they're inherently very good-hearted individual people, and they want the best. But it's when you get that groupthink chanting away that things get a little dicey.
Well, it's also the personal. I mean, if you go to a third world or any other country, really not even third, you go to France and you hand someone a stack of bills and say, "Hey, this is for you because you're a good person and I care about you." They would be like, What? Now, Americans are becoming more and more cynical like that, which is honestly kind of healthy. A healthy dose of cynicism is good. Now, you can't fall deep into it. There is still good in the world. I mean, we weren't naive for no reason. We want to think the best of people because most people want that for themselves and they want that for others. But we're stupid. Let's be honest. We're really stupid.
Was it the Monroe Doctrine? Am I getting that right? Where it was the American separate, where we were unentangled with Europe? Is that what it was called? I'm drawing a blank right now.
The Monroe Doctrine, I could be wrong. I thought it was that it basically was manifest destiny.
Manifest destiny, and the United States will control the entirety of its own continent, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
And after the Civil War, we got right back into it. Boy, did they make a mistake not conquering. And when they conquered Mexico, they should have just taken it.
Well, yeah, I'm not 100% sure they could have.
They did.
Yeah, non-colonization, non-intervention, U.S. neutrality, U.S. sphere of influence. That was the Monroe Doctrine. Basically, Fortress America, which, if you look at what Trump's proposing, is Western hemispheric security, that we control Greenland, we get an avenue through the Arctic, which you were talking about earlier in the pre-show about. Would you want to talk about that real quick?
Well, let me give you some background. I've traveled I did quite a bit in the early 2005, 2006. I spent 3 or 4. I spent days driving through Canada, and I got to meet a lot of people on the ground. And I remember talking to a man at a Dairy Queen up in BC, and he was saying, "Can't you guys just take us over so we can be normal people?" And I've always kind of been interested in the Canadian separatist movement. It's just not like I don't think I'm necessarily all in favor of Canada splitting up, but I spent like 3 days up in Prince Rupert, Canada. And just the whole idea of how oppressive the government was when you go from America to where you can have guns. Even California is not nearly as oppressive as Canada is, where you can have guns and all this other stuff. And you go into Canada where they're talking about getting a permit when you go into like their sporting goods stores. They're not gun stores, they're sporting stores. And they were talking about all the stuff. And then I've actually carried guns through Canada. and had to go through some of the regulatory stuff of what they make you do to carry a firearm. Like they tax you to take your own gun across Canada. You have to pay a tax to carry a gun, and it has to be non-military. Anyways, I'm going off into the weeds. So I've always kind of like been interested in that, and so I've been watching Canada doing its referendums. I think they got 3 provinces now that have decided that they pretty much are done with Ontario, and it's been impressive to watch. But now a lot of that's through Stephen Turley. Do you ever watch him?
Yeah, Professor Turley. A bit. I didn't know he was in on this. Is he Canadian?
No, but he's very anti-socialist.
Yeah. I think he's very savvy. He knows how to play his part. He's very intelligent. I would say he's more aware of the situation, but he also knows how to hide his cards. I'm not exactly sure who he works for or like what his ideology 100% is, and that's 100% on purpose. Like he does that on purpose. He's really good at cloaking. So I would say he's very intelligent.
The thing I like about it is he is a professor of the old school where he's presenting the information that he wants you to know, but you don't really know what his stance is on the information.
Yeah, but then he just goes on Fox News a lot and does, and he's kind of like their go-to and expert for certain things.
Oh,
but yeah.
Yeah, I don't watch.
Yeah, I mean, especially during the impeachment hearings, like he was all over that. I mean, I watch it because that's what everyone else watches. I don't watch it for like, but you learn like what narrative drive is being pushed, like en masse. Because whenever you want to do narrative control, it's like all the talking heads need to go in the same direction. You can't have a bunch of independent people giving their hot takes all over the place. That just breeds chaos and lack of coordination from their perspective. I'm not saying I like it. I'm just saying that's what it is.
Well, that's the reality. Reality is not something you necessarily always have to like. It is what it is. Yeah,
most people don't have the critical thinking skills to do much of anything, let alone figure this out. And they never will, unfortunately. It's kind of something it's taken me a long time to accept that fact because I was like, this is so obscene at this point. There's no way we're this dumb. It's not even that we're dumb. It's like we've been traumatized so deeply as a nation that people cannot handle the horror. They just can't. It's too dark. And people just don't want to go there because they have their own problems that they're trying to stay afloat with the little they have to deal with. So why would you go and bring all this on, you know? I get that.
My awakening was when you're involved in government projects and you're telling people exactly what you've been involved in and exactly what you've done and seen on the ground information like this. I did and saw this with my own eyes. And you're telling them from the first person perspective and they're like, no, it can't be that way.
That's how I feel with the pedophilia stuff. It's like child trafficking and it's like no one can believe it.
Well,
it's like, who would believe it?
When I was working on the border wall project back in 19 and 20, you tell people like literally you think it's a humanitarian project because when we were setting up a mixer site out there and they wanted to get our input on if we could get semis into there to deliver cement, and we went to this site to set it all up and we found human bodies in the desert. When you see dead children out there, it really brings it home, man. You know, I don't like talking about it because it's really emotional, but
I know. I haven't seen any dead bodies of children, but I've seen plenty of rape victims that have been trafficked since they were like 8.
Well, yeah, it's just like,
and it's like watching a little corpse walking around. It's really haunting.
They've literally beaten the humanity out of these poor children.
Yep. Yeah, they stole their souls.
So yeah, I've seen this stuff. I've witnessed and seen these things, and I tell people what I've seen, and they're like, no, that has to be an exaggeration. I've literally saw a body of what looked to be a mother cradling a young girl. And only the way we know that is by the clothes they were wearing. Because they were skeletons. And it's like, and it just changed the aspect of everything. It took it out of the political and brought it into the reality of what we were doing. It's not, we want these people to come here, but they have to go through the gate, is basically I keep telling them. So they don't die in the desert. So
yes, 100%. But and this is the problem with the Democrats. They live their TV characters when you. It's not just Democrats, Republicans too. I talk to a lot of people and most people, and I would ask anyone watching this to do a self-inventory of yourself and ask yourself, what TV character do you see yourself as? And if there's something that pops into your head, that should give you a real freaking like stop. You're not a TV character. This is real life. This is actually happening. A part of what happens through entertainment is we have disassociation that goes on, that they show us these horrible things on TV, and that when we see it in real life, people go, oh, that was on TV. That's not real. So now no one knows. People in America, in the West, in general, I would say all over the world at this point, are walking around in like this dream state of they think they're in a movie or something.
Yeah, they're narrating their own movie.
Yeah, and it's like, well, this is like that TV show. That's their only reference point. Because, one, no one travels, no one really struggles. Like, you grow up in the system, in a school system where everything's fed to you. Then you go out into the workforce where you're told what to do for the rest of your life, and then you die. You know, it's not, you don't have a lot of space to go and do a self-inventory of who am I, where am I going, what is this all about, and what's actually real. Or like going out into the woods, figuring out how nature works, being with the trees, hunting, being one with the world. No one does that anymore. Well, not no one, very few.
I remember what the reality of the stupidity of the modern person came to fruition when I lived in Alaska and worked on the railroad. They have this thing called they're basically like old railroad cars that have been converted over to run without electricity, and they run like diesel engines instead, but they call them Bud cars because they were made by the Bud company. And Alaska Railroad is I don't know if it is anymore, but when I worked for them, they were the sole remaining flag stop railroad. You can wave a flag and the train will stop and pick you up. And we were taking these tourists with us down the railroad track on the Bud cars, and there was grizzlies in the middle of the track, and we'd slowed and we were honking trying to get them out of the way, and we're stopped, and these people are like trying to jump off the goddamn train so they can go pet Yogi. It's like, are you serious? That's a bear. It could kill and eat you, and you're trying to pet these things. You're out of your goddamn mind.
Yeah.
It's like,
it's something I don't think the planet has ever seen, is this level of mass insanity. At this scale, certainly. I don't think we've ever seen it. It's kind of why I've had to like do a lot of spiritual work. When I say spiritual, people get all woo-woo. I'm saying I have to center myself to not go crazy and be one with the zombie hordes out there right now. It's really hard to keep your head on your shoulders in a time like this. It would be so easy for me to just pretend along with everyone else, but I can't. I've seen too much. You've seen too much. We can't do it anymore. It's too evil. It's too effed up. It's crazy. You people are insane for going along with this. And you don't know it, and it's not your fault. This was done to you. It was done to me. It was done to all of us until you have that moment of going, but that requires some courage and some, and that's in short demand today. Not many people even know what that word means anymore.
Yeah, courage, integrity, that's another one. If you show any integrity at all, then people don't know how to handle you.
If I didn't see the horror of those kids, I would not be saying the things that I'd be saying right now. If I didn't go and because I didn't know how bad it was, I knew it was bad. I didn't know it was an industry that we were all funding. I didn't know that. That was kind of shocking.
Sex trafficking and all that stuff.
Traffic. I mean, yeah, but I mean, it's trafficking, and then once you see how that works, you see how the criminal elements work, you see how the financial system works, and then you're like, it's built into the system. It's like this whole thing is designed to create all of these things that we're seeing, and conservative minded people don't want to hear that because they're all about making your own way in the world, which there's a great strength in that, but they project that out into the world and they're confused when people aren't ethical. I encounter this all the time. It's like, why did they even think they can lie about this? And I'm like, you're not paying attention. Like, if you're confused when someone's going to lie on a contract, you're not paying attention to the other horrors that humanity is capable of doing right now in our lifetime. I would argue that what's under the surface, as it's coming up, and it's gonna have to come up. We might have killed off more people in the 21st century by the time this century is over. I would say this is going to be the bloodiest century of our modern history by far. Not even it'll make the 20th century look like a fun time. Because we're in the beginning stages of it. We're not even at the halfway point. We're in the first quarter.
Well, the problem, like World War II, collectively killed, I think, a percentage, like 10 or 20% of the population. And these are just numbers. They're not exact.
I'm saying it's going to be double that when all said and done.
It's like the number of people that have been killed in the Ukrainian war is astounding to me. Like, they're saying it could be 1 million people from both sides have died.
Right now, a number on Ukraine side is about 1.2, 1.5 million on the Ukraine side. Russians, we think, we really don't know. They're really good with their information lockdown. We really can't tell.
Yeah.
It's between 300 to 1 million, maybe more. We don't know.
But it's when you try to explain to people that the United States casualties during World War II weren't that high.
Yeah, I know. Because they saw Saving Private Ryan. So, no, we bled the most. We saved the world. The Russian people are the ones who saved the world. If we're going to go off of that narrative, they how many died on the western front over there?
Because their commanders used them as cannon fodder.
Well, sure, but still, I'm saying that you want to have some horror war stories. Like, we don't have any movies about them. We never tell that side of the story.
Although Enemy at the Gates is pretty cool.
That is a great movie, but and that does, I would say that's really good. Yeah.
Enemy. I like Enemy. That was a good movie.
Yeah, I would say that I forgot about that one, but that one's really good.
Yeah, that's when they literally show. That came out like 2001, 2002.
I can't remember. Probably.
Yeah, it was in the early 2000s, and that's the first time they show the machine guns on the backside, and if you came back, either way you're screwed.
Yeah. I mean, there's no other way to do it if you're going to do wave attacks. When you don't have depth of force, anyway, we're going down a bit of a rabbit trail here. But go ahead, finish what you were saying. Sorry.
Okay, so the breakdown of casualties during World War II: 318,274 between the Army and the Army Air Force were killed in World War II. 65,861 were wounded. The Navy had 62,614 were killed, 1,000 wounded. This is the number here that is astounding. The Marine Corps. You would think after seeing the Iwo Jima and the Battle of Saipan and all these different engagements, the Marines only lost 24,511 during World War II. Go
ahead.
At that time, the United States had 14 million people under arms.
Yeah. I mean, the Civil War still had more battle casualties, I think, than any other war combined, still to this day.
Well, the thing that, let's see.
Just because it was both sides, obviously, but still.
698,000 died.
In the Civil War?
So the Civil War estimates it's between 698,000 and 850,000.
Yeah. No, I mean, I definitely think it was.
But the problem is depending on what army you're looking at, because
I know, but it was.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that was in the 1800s. Still, like, I mean, and this was modern warfare with aircraft carriers and nuclear weapons and tanks and all this other. It's like even then they couldn't outstrip the total battle casualty of the American Civil War. I'm saying that goes to the point that our battle casualties were actually relatively low compared to, I would say the main, like World War II was fought between China, Russia, and Germany. Those were the main actors, and then
the thing is according to
America came in for the coup de grace, basically to finish it all off.
2% of the United States lost 2% of the population in that war.
Yeah,
2%.
And Russia lost what percentage?
Oh, I haven't looked at that.
Probably 20.
To casualty count. Let's see. Let's see.
Like the real war of World War II was fought over there in the East. I just said Western Front. I meant Eastern, like in the Eastern side. It was and the Chinese casualties, because they were going through a civil war as well. People think World War II started when Germany invaded Poland. It started back in the 20s, like right after World War I. In fact, World War I never really ended. World War II was just a continuation.
It was a whole.
We just don't. Yeah. Well, I mean, no. I'm saying there was like live action going on, like in China, in Russia, and all these places. I mean, there was like real things going on, like civil wars that were taking place, and this kind of ties back to finance. Believe it or not.
27 million troops. 27 million people died on the Russian-Soviet front.
Dead, not just in injuries, and we're not talking about splinters. Like we're talking about limbs being blown off, psychological damage. It destroyed Russia for a generation, for generations, and they're just now starting to recover. Now, like it's and right on time, we get another world war.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
why
amazing.
They need control of the Eurasian landmass. This has been a British, Dutch, central banking operation from the beginning. They cannot have competition. Like they are not the kind of, their system does not allow for a second party system to be in place. They need to have total control. That's this globalism, this whole idea of a unitary globalist system of cross-border payments, which affects politics, it affects what people do, incentive structures, how people raise their children. It affects everything down to your church, down to your grocery budget. Everything.
Dude, China's the one that got their asses handed to
yes,
them.
China.
Civilian deaths. They're right
I think
behind.
it's like 50, 60 million.
Civilian,
between
the military soldiers that died was almost 4 million. Civilians, the civilian casualty count was 19.5 million.
Yeah, but you got to look directly after the war, and at that body count, like because the war technically ended, but in China it didn't.
Yeah, well,
kept going on.
Their count, their calling end of combat is 1951.
Yeah, and if we go by those dates, then you can craft a narrative that makes a certain party look better than others. If you broaden out and look at warfare based on casualty counts, it's a completely different story.
Sorry to get distracted. I've never.
No, this ties into this actually. I'm glad we talked about this.
Total world death. They're saying between 70 and 85 million people combine. If you combine all the totals, 70 and 85 million.
And I think that's low, again, because that's within that specific time window, and they don't talk about the beginning and the tail end of this event. And the 20th century was insanely bloody. It was the bloodiest century, and we swore that that would never happen again. And I'm telling you, it's already well underway to happen again. We have a way higher body count today.
It took out 4% of the human population.
Yeah, I'm telling you, this one we're going to be lucky if we don't lose 20%.
Yeah.
Like, we're going to be very lucky, and there's a chance that is mitigated. I mean, there's been efforts underway to mitigate and stop this, I believe, because I think enough factions within these countries have been through this lesson enough that, like, we've had enough of this, and we're not going to let these gangsters come in and rape us and destroy this whole thing. Like, that
goes back to the name of our podcast, The Turning. We're in the turning. We're in the fourth turning.
We're in the fourth turning. Yep.
Because it's been 80 years.
And this is a super turning. This isn't even like a regular turning. This is like a super mega ultra turning. This is the most important time for humanity of, let's say, Atlantis existed, since Atlantis. Beginning of known history. There is no more consequential moment than the time we are currently, our lifespans. We are going to see which way humanity decides to go. We're at the major fork in the road.
Well, yeah, it's like impressive, like sitting back and watching, like all the reopening of military installations. We're reoccupying the Philippines with U.S. troops.
Yeah, we just cut deals with all these guys. Yeah. We're securing the Western Hemisphere is what it looks like. We're trying to.
The only thing that killed more people in U.S. and world history is the Black Plague.
There's a lot of interesting coincidences about that as well. There was also a lot of wars going on during the Black Plague. You know, yeah. Michael Yon has he's kind of funny. He's like, whenever you get mass war, you get plague, famine, war, in that three. And somebody came up to him and was like, hey, you know that's in the Bible. And he's like, oh, really? It's in the Bible. You're right, the four horsemen. It's like plague, war, famine, and pestilence, right? And pestilence, not really sure exactly how that's different from plague, but maybe a spiritual pestilence. Maybe it's something like that. The minds of man is distraught and destroyed. But whenever you get war, you get famine, plague, and pestilence, and war. You get it in those four. Unless you got some controlled fake war game operation that's going on, but even then you get elements of that. But when you're talking about world wars, it's all four. You get COVID, World War III, which is really World War IV. Even you could say it's World War V, but I would say it's World War IV. To me, it's World War IV.
Because what was that? 40 years that we were facing off with the Russians?
Yeah, that was World War III. To the
Cold War.
To the CIA and the intelligence services, to them that was World War III. And that's why they are up on such a high pedestal today, because they view themselves as the ones that they're legend for them, which they love legends. You know, in the CIA, when they're working an operative or they give you a cover story, it's called a legend.
Yeah.
Right?
You have to have a history to sell it.
This is your history, so you can sell yourself as an entity to your target. Their legend is that they saved the Western world from the darkness of the East. And in reality, they were being funded by the same people that were funding those guys. And we got red team, blue team being run by financiers at the highest level. And that's why I wanted to talk about finance, because there is a direct link to this. And I think as the years go on, this is going to become more and more and more obvious, because this is all public information. This is not like this used to be conspiracy theory stuff. There's been plenty of legitimate work out there that's been collated. Hell, they tell you themselves. They don't even really hide this. They just use language to obfuscate. But if you watch where the money flows go, it tells a very different story than what's being projected into your textbooks and in the news. It's a totally different story.
Exactly.
And it's undeniable once you have the chops to see it. Once you see it, you can't unsee it. It's one of those things. And I wish this was not the case. I would hope for it to not be the case. I would love for somebody to tell me how it's not the case. I've spent the last 5 years of my life trying to pick apart how this is not the case. Because I don't want this. I don't want to even believe this. Because it's the most evil thing I've ever seen. But it also makes a hell of a lot of sense at the same time, which unfortunately it's very shocking. We went down a whole deep rabbit hole there.
58-minute rabbit hole. Yeah.
Yeah.
To get primed
and
the pump for what's coming.
But this, I think that was perfect. Okay, because that primed it big time, and we don't have to go too deep in the weeds on this. I just kind of want to hit down a timeline here of certain things that happened.
Threw you off track. I apologize.
No, it's fine. I'm gonna share a screen here, and it's all right. We're gonna have a little dead air here for a second, and here we go. I'm just using Grok just because it's a useful tool for this, and it doesn't mean we trust it, but it kind of gives a brief overlay here.
I don't know, man. I asked Croc for a pizza recipe the other day to make homemade dough, and it was pretty good. So, I mean,
it's really good. You just have to use your own discernment to know if what you're looking at is real. That's the only thing. So I'm just going to keep this here just for a second. Well, maybe I'll take it down. Okay, so Mesopotamia, Sumerians, banking, you know what? No, this isn't going to work because you can't have a screen up for very long. So let me just take this down. I'll just try to do this verbally. Basically, in the ancient age, you had kings that aggregated wealth. They eventually realized they have a surplus of wealth to divvy out to their different agents to go out and do central control. Like, you got your military branch, you got your intelligence, you got religious, which the religious branch, it was always, and the intelligence, and the principal, which is the king, and the military. It's always kind of confusing who actually runs each other. So whenever you get a power system like that going, there's infighting within the court going on all the time. Like, I mean, just because not everyone, but a lot of people have seen it. Game of Thrones is actually a pretty good description of how politics work.
Never watched it.
Don't watch it, but a lot of people have watched it. It's a pretty good description. Dune is a great description in modern
the original
culture.
one or the remake?
I mean, the books are amazing, but the remakes, both. I would say the remakes are pretty good. I'd say I
actually like the remake a lot better than the original.
I do too. I rewatched them so many times. They're so good. Cool, but you have to kind of understand the lore and understand how the power systems work within the story. But it's a pretty good representation of how it works in real life. You have a religious class, but back then, so you had you would think about the temple granaries. Like the priests got all these donations for because they were the arbiters between the people and the transcendent. So all the people wanted to focus their energy into the priest class. So the king is always over here going, no, I want to be the god king above the priest class, so you guys funnel it up this way. Right? Let me put it to you this way. I'll tell you the end of the story. The Fed, as we know it, is often called the temple, is known as the temple in Washington, D.C. That's colloquially what they call it. Like congressman, that's like what it's known as. It's called the temple.
Okay.
And it goes all the way back. It's a tradition that goes all the way back. That it's about aggregating assets, collateralizing them, and then once they started this idea of interest, of loaning things out for interest and still keeping the wealth, but using the wealth as collateral to give people cash to go and build out other ventures, and then they get a cut of that as well as their principal back, then it's like the golden goose. It just keeps feeding itself. So it's an old tradition, and that's effectively what finance is. Now, a lot of people just say, well, finance is evil. Basically, yes, in a sense it is. It's not that it hasn't done some good things. Like, I am not one of these people that says we need to destroy the Fed and destroy our entire financial system and go back to gold bartering. How would that work? We're in too deep now. We're talking about a system that goes back to Babylon. Before that, way before that, it's kind of the natural impulse that takes hold of systems once they start aggregating power and wealth. They initially go, well, how do we keep our wealth? Well, we have to expand, because if we don't expand, we get competition. We get competition, we might lose everything. It's a very fragile way. Like, it's a religion of materialism. But at the same time, these kings, when they became king, they realized, once they start seeing how the system works, they're like, oh crap, if I acquiesce my responsibility as king, all these other forces of greed, hubris will come in, and the people will get destroyed, or I'll get destroyed, or whatever, or the priest class would. It's very complex is what I'm saying. So the libertarians and everyone out there that's like, oh, we got to destroy the whole thing. It's like, look, before you destroy something, you better understand how it works and why it's here. This is not something that just popped up overnight. This is very old. And it's a very old problem. It is a problem. But so today we have the Fed. The Fed was started, you read The Creature from Jekyll Island. There's some arguments about the accuracy of that book by G. Edward Griffin, which I do recommend everyone go and read. It is, in my opinion, it's more or less accurate of what kind of happened.
Make sure you send me that copy so I can put it in the notes.
Yeah, The Creature from Jekyll Island. It's a must-read. It's very... You honestly don't even need to read the whole book. Just read, like, the first 2 chapters, and you'll get the gist of what's going on. If you want the details, go further in. But basically, the Fed is a third-party system that's independent of the federal government, supposedly, that's headed by a board of people that are elected, and the president has to sign off on it, so it makes it look like, and the word, like, oh, it's the Federal Reserve, so it sounds like it's under the federal government. It's not under the federal government.
It's like
it's the bank above the federal government.
But they mean the Fed because it's the same concept of why they call it Federal Express, is the way they delegate it out. Is how it's marketing, really, is what it is. Yeah, they have all the different branch banks, and then that's how like FedEx was started. They have like hubs, and that's why it's a federal hub. That
is correct. They use a federal. Well, they say it's federalized, and that they have the different branch banks, but they all have to do what the central bank does. Because everyone's asking the question, why is it like right now? Like Trump just took a tour of the new building that they're building, which is like it's $3.1 billion now for a building. The new federal, they're refurbishing the temple right now for a total of $3.1 billion. Powell said it's only 2.8. Congress said it was supposed to be 1.5. It's been more than double. Anyway, the point is, it's a staff of like 50,000 people, and it's like, why? In the age of information, you're saying you can't get rid of a lot of these people?
Well, the what do they all do? Is the Fed has their own army.
Are you thinking of the IRS?
Well, who works for the Fed? Why is the IRS? They do the bidding, and they have. The
IRS is under the Treasury Department, just for the U.S. Treasury. The Treasury is a different entity.
But the Treasury has a law enforcement branch.
Correct. Yeah.
So that's their own army.
Right. Which, yeah, and we'll see how and I think that's being dismantled right now, because that was, I think, maybe a plan, or maybe it was all kayfabe. I don't know. I don't, because I can't imagine them sending out armed agents into America to collect taxes. Like, I just don't see the population putting up with that. We're pretty stupid, but I don't think they would tolerate armed
there's going to be
federal
some guy
tax collectors. Like, I just maybe I'm constantly shocked at the impotence and the insanity of the American people sometimes. So who knows what we would put up with. But I don't think that is what is happening, because I think they've realized that it's not going to work. I think it's being dismantled, but I could be wrong. Who knows? But that was in the works.
There's always that one gentleman with the shotgun in the woods going, I've been waiting for this for 30 years. Come on, Feddies, let's go. Not that I'm one of them. I'm just saying that they're out there.
No, of course not. Yeah. But so how did the Fed get chartered? Basically, it was a combination of a bunch of bankers out of England and American aristocrats and some senators that were plugged in. And these aristocrats, they're all British in origin, pretty much, in terms of how they got their wealth. And they're basically the managers of America. Rockefeller, Carnegie, usual suspects. They shoved this into the Senate and the House, like, in the middle of Christmas, and it was passed, like, at midnight. And all of a sudden, we have a Federal Reserve System.
Well, they fought against that for, what, over 100 and some years against the Federal Reserve System. And then it was, they had a...
I think you're thinking of central banks. That's different.
Wasn't the Federal Reserve in charge of the central banking system?
It is now, but but originally that would be under the auspices of the Treasury, which would be under the executive office. As of right now, the Federal Reserve is not under the executive office. It's a third-party entity. It's outside of the government.
Yeah, it's a foreign entity.
Exactly. So, they call the bar the Temple Bar. People that pass the bar in America have to basically swear allegiance to the legal system of the British Commonwealth.
Sorry.
Okay?
I'm just reading this here real quick.
No, that's fine. Basically what I'm saying is the United States is a proxy for the British Empire. We never won the revolution. We won parts of it, like American aristocrats, like Washington was a part of it, and we won some sovereignty in terms of our own representation. But when it came to the financial system, when it came in place, Hamilton, who was all about this...
They considered the Federal Reserve a nonprofit.
Yeah, of course. I mean, that's easy. Anyone can be a nonprofit. I'm a nonprofit, Of course they are. Yeah, they're a public service. Yeah. They're here to help.
It's a non-for-profit, just like the NFL is a non-profit organization. They make billions of dollars, but they're non-for-profit. But that's on a different rabbit hole.
This is like Spark Notes of what is the reality of this, and we could talk about this for years, like the details of this. It goes so deep, but long story short, so there's a thing called the LIBOR rate. So hang on, let me just look that up so I'm accurate here. So the LIBOR rate.
There's a LIBOR scandal. What's that?
It's not letting me look it up. Hang on. The LIBOR is the London Interbank Offered Rate. Was a benchmark interest rate at which major banks lent to one another in an international interbank market for short-term loans. Basically, overnight clearance for whenever at the end of business hours, you submit your balance sheets to whatever your bank above you is financing you to show, like, okay, this is like what we need, and this is how much capital we need, or how much cash infusion we need to bring in for the day. And that rate was set by basically the City of London for the Federal Reserve. Like, we've been under their control since this. I mean, directly since this was instantiated, indirectly and through covert action. The American Civil War had way more to do with this than states' rights in the South. That was a major part of it, no doubt. But the South, as far as I can tell, was underwritten by London. and the Dutch, the Continentals of Europe were trying to make a run at taking over the Americas by splitting it up and fragmenting it. And that's why Lincoln became basically a war dictator, because you kind of had to. At least that's my take on it. I could be wrong about that part of the story, but that's what it looks like. So it's the Civil War. The American Civil War had a lot more to do with finance than slavery or states' rights by a long shot, about who actually determines how we use our money. Because what is money? Money is our energy. It's our life force. It's our time. It's our productivity. It's everything. You want the major choke point to control everything? It's the money. What is money? It's really more of a philosophical question than anything.
Well, when you get down to it, when you do a thought experiment about cash in the new banking system, you would think that why can't they just go in and zero out the computer and start over? Have you ever gone down that thought?
Yeah, sure, of course. And that happens all the time. It's called war.
Yeah. That's why we need a war, is because of the debt.
Exactly.
What's the fastest way? So if we go to war with China, that'll be the fastest way to wipe out the debt we owe them. Is we went to war, we captured their territory, and we just basically hit the delete button on the debt.
Yeah, think of nation states as corporations. And what happens when a corporation is overextended, goes into bankruptcy, and then all of a sudden you got a restructuring? That's what the United States is basically going through right now. We're going through a restructuring. What happened in June of 2023 was we went from LIBOR to SOFR, secured overnight financing rate, that's set through the Treasury.
I was wondering what that was all about.
So this has been the theory that we're breaking off from the City of London banking system, and we're breaking out of the European control. That's the hope. Or this is another limited hangout and kayfabe operation to make us all think that. Who knows? But right now, that's what it looks like is happening, that we're in the middle of a real revolution to take away and have real Pax Americana, and not Pax Americana, sorry, that means world America. No. Control over the Western Hemisphere. Security, financing, and Europe can go F themselves. We're done fighting. We're done with these crazy families, and since that have been plugging us since Rome, we're done with it. The Chinese, the Russians, they've all been plagued by the same system, and those were all great civilizations. The Russian civilization is very old. The Chinese, like old, arguably the oldest civilization to this day, and
currently existing civilization. Yeah,
and they have old records.
Yeah,
and this isn't their first. They have an old memory, a long memory, and that's the key here. Americans, we're 250 years old in memory. We think we're a sovereign nation. We need to start getting that mindset out. We haven't been a sovereign nation. We never really have been. We've been under control of these guys ever since that. Before the ink was dry in the Constitution, they had their hooks in, and that's why we're going through all. That's why we've been going. We're the ones to provide all the capital, all the muscle. We provide the resources, the security. We're the world police. We're the muscle for the empire.
Yeah.
And I think enough families in America have had enough of it and said, this is insane. Not only is it insane, it doesn't. If we keep going along with these people, they're going to get us all killed.
Yeah, because what does everyone really want? They want a safe place for the kids to live.
If they have kids at all. Yeah, and that's the thing with a lot of these globalist world leaders. A lot of them don't have children. They all have these fantasies of living forever. Like Klaus Schwab literally gets up on stage to a student body that he's given a speech to. He's like, you will be the first generation to have immortality. And all these tech bros that come out of this vein, they're like, yeah, we're going to upload our consciousness to AI or to the God computer. We're going to live forever. They're all into like freezing their bodies and so they can be revivified when science catches up to the point where they can live like for another 1,000 years or whatever. They're obsessed with this because they're pure materialists.
Because that's the only thing they can't control is lifespan.
Yes.
You ever read the Overton Window by Glenn Beck?
No, but I know the Overton, Oberton. Yeah, but it's yeah.
Yeah, the Overton.
O-B-B, Oberton. Yeah, but it's from it's a phrase that comes out of I think 1984, Orwell.
Yeah, it's a sliding scale on the way people perceive reality.
Of perception. Yeah, you get this, they don't want this. Yeah. They don't want the blinders off.
Yeah. Glenn Beck did a really good job in that book explaining kind of what you're talking about.
Yeah, Glenn Beck's come a long way. I'm still he does a good job, more or less. I would say he does more of a good job than a bad.
I would love to meet him. I would love the opportunity to meet Glenn Beck.
I wouldn't. He's the
one I don't really
I've actually... Go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, you're saying... No, I don't have anything to say. He's more like... He's come a long way from 2005, 2008 Glenn Beck. That guy was a piece of work.
He's kind of calmed down.
He was used as a mouthpiece like Tucker Carlson and all these guys have been, even though Tucker is still kind of...
I don't know, man.
I don't know. I don't trust any of these people, okay? And it's not that I trust. Like, I think a lot of them mean well. I still think they have a lot... They think their eyes are opened, and they've really just been brought into another wormhole of perception control. I don't think they even fully understand. I don't believe they fully understand.
Talking about perception control made me think... What did you think about Gavin Newsom getting on the Sean Ryan podcast?
I'm glad he did, so everyone can see it for themselves.
I was really pissed because I'm part of the Patreon group for him. When he announced it and asked for questions to ask, there was a lot of really pissed off people. But I listened to the whole entire thing. I lived in California for 27 years. And the line of shit that came out of his mouth is just that. It's just bull. And it's every single fact he pulled out, I would pause it and I would go and check the facts, even against Google, which is knowingly biased. And it was all skewed facts. Oh, there's more people actually moving back into California than are leaving. Yeah.
Yeah. And he convinces himself that that's the truth because he sees one study that tells him it's the truth because an expert said it, and then he can back it up with that, and that's the narrative.
Well, narrative control. That's the sad thing is when you're gaslighting yourself.
He has to maintain his position. If he admits he's wrong about anything, it's over.
Yeah.
For him. So it's a confidence game. That's what con man means. It's you play your position to the fullest degree. It's like what in Yiddish it's called chutzpah, and it's like
Is that what chutzpah means? Okay.
Basically, that you're just like you double, triple, quadruple, quintuple. You double down on your position no matter what. That's your only move, and to the point where it's so insane that your opposition is like, whoa, maybe they do have something that I don't understand. Because no sane person would say what they're saying.
Yeah.
You know?
I just thought it was cool how Sean Ryan basically gave him the bully pulpit to basically showed his ass.
Yes, I would say that's one way of looking at it. I'm going to say with Sean Ryan, I think he's done a lot of good stuff. I would say, I'm not saying he's consciously a part of this. You know that chick, Sarah Adams, he brings on? About how the Taliban are infiltrating us and we're about to have a new 9/11 any day now. It's like, and he has all these tech bros on. And
they've been clamoring to come onto his podcast lately.
They all go on there to hawk their crap, and it's like he's
Show how smart they are. Yeah.
He's a perfect conduit for the complex, the industries, to reposition themselves as men of the people because he doesn't push back really at all. Because he doesn't really know anything, as far as I can tell, or he's willing to go along with this, or he's a part of it. I can't really tell. His story about that he told to Tucker about him doing being a thrill seeker in South America. That's exactly the kind of legend I would build for myself if I was a CIA operative running operations down there. I would just say, no, I was just doing a bunch of coke and being crazy and building networks and just pretending to be a spy or whatever, and just using all my tools and assets to build these networks up so I could have a good time. That's a great story because it's believable, but at the same time, it's like, that's what the CIA does.
But he was
So it's like,
he worked for the agency. His real name is not actually Sean Ryan. I don't know exactly, but that's a made up name.
And it's the biggest podcast coming out of left field.
Well, it's supposed to present coming out of right field. But
you know what I mean? It's left field. You know what I mean? It
but
overtook Joe Rogan. I don't know if it still has.
Joe Rogan now?
He was for a minute. No. I'm sorry. That was Tucker. I'm thinking of Tucker. Never mind.
Yeah.
No, but he's up there. I just don't. These people are. You should listen to them, but just keep it in the back of your head. This is a great avenue for very wealthy interests to do damage control over their brands. Because that's what I see a lot of what's happening.
Exactly. I definitely agree with that.
I mean, they basically disclosed that they do weather control with a 26-year-old that Peter Thiel funds.
That was pretty interesting.
It's like, but we've known this since the 60s. It's all been out there, but now it's like being like, oh, it's just like we're just doing a little bit of cloud seeding, just to give poor farmers some rain. It's like, okay, fine. Maybe that's what that kid is doing. Maybe. But
I have to ask you, what's your, do you think that he helped move the weather system over and take out
There's
Texas?
no way to know. There's no way to know if he did it or what. I don't know. I've heard stories from farmers down there that weather system was like a hurricane that came inland and then was static and stayed in one place for like a long time. And it just poured an insane amount of moisture down, and they've never seen anything like that.
Yeah.
That's kind of like last time I was saying, like that was the first time in 100 years. So I've heard that. That's kind of where I was coming from. I don't know I know that place was prone to flooding in the past. Like we've had floods. But I don't know at the scale of that. I don't know how big it was. The
water level got. You can read in post Civil War history about Russia. About Texas, when they talked about some of the floods that went through there in the 1890s and the 1870s, and there's actually in that valley, they have a building that's been around for that long, and they have the high water marks on the wall.
You were saying that.
I forget exactly where I saw that, but 1987, same thing happened in 87.
I still believe the world operates under natural forces way more strongly than any man-made forces to a certain degree. I don't know. I do know there is a lot of compelling evidence around, and it makes sense that there's a way to steer hurricanes and how they can use EM frequencies to create corridors for things and to create conditions for things to happen. I don't know electromagnetic HARP, but none of it's been disclosed like, oh yes, we can do this. There's a treaty on weather control back in the 60s that took place.
Because they were using weather control to try to take out Vietnam.
Yeah. And I don't know how extensive it is. I don't know. No one really knows that I've found. No one that's actually been there. I haven't seen any real whistleblowers that stand up to scrutiny about it. So I don't know. And it's worth keeping in the back of your head, but I'm not going to sit here and say, yeah, that's what happened. There's no way for me to know.
It's above our pay grade.
Yeah. But are these people, if they're capable, if they had that ability, would they do it? Absolutely they would. They're capable of doing anything. They're trafficking children by the millions in this country. They know it. They don't have a problem with it.
I actually got a article on that. It's locked. You have to pay for it.
But anyway, So we didn't really go into the deep history of this. We could get into the details. I'm not sure how interesting that would be.
Deep history of what? What are we talking?
Of the financial system. Because here's the problem. A lot of people are trying to blame a certain class of people with little hats for everything.
Yeah.
And this just... I'm not saying there aren't willing participants, for there are many, just like there are in any other group of people. But they are like the perfect whipping boy. Like the person to blame. You know, you have a bullet sponge in front of you for these third parties that are in the shadows. Like, it's not an accident that X is flooded with this stuff of blaming everything on Jews. It's like, I'm not saying Israel is great. It's actually, because Israel to me is a globalist outpost set up by the British Empire.
Mm-hmm.
The same system.
That's... Yeah, because wasn't it till like 47 they were in charge of... It's when they kind of like stepped out. Britain's version of Afghanistan when they left. And then the Israelis and the Palestinians went at it, and the Israelis pretty much kicked their ass.
And they brought in a bunch of Eastern Jews. Like they basically created like a funnel effect to get a population base in there that was foreign. That, okay, we get a bunch of Jews in here from Eastern Europe that can act as a stalemate. We give them a story, a legend they can glob onto. The land is very relevant to their religion, obviously. So it's a perfect play from their perspective. If you're a cold-blooded lizard person, I'm not saying they're actual lizards, but if you know what I mean. If you have zero ethics about you, you're totally amoral, and you just are in it for pure power plays, that's a good move. It's a great move. So, and then they have gotten the entire Christian church especially in American evangelical churches, which I would account Adventism to be among them, but in any church outside of the Protestant Catholic system, to basically say that Israel is the Holy Land and we must defend it no matter what because the Muslims are there to get them. It's not that the Muslims are the good guys either. It's the same game. They're playing the Muslims too. We're stuck in a sick game of these different groups being clashed against each other.
What was that thing when Europe sent all the people down to fight the Muslims? That was
the Crusades.
Yeah, it's a modern attempt at the modern Crusades.
Exactly. Yes. Oh. That is exactly what's happening. That's 100% correct. And then the Crusades, we make it, there's a lot of romanticism that goes along with the Crusades too. What I think the Crusades, and there's books written about this, but I suspect the Crusades were largely used to destroy the Byzantine Empire. It really wasn't so much about Muslims in the Middle East. It was to draw out the resources of the Byzantine Empire, Christendom, that had split off from Rome, that said, you guys are crazy, we're not dealing with you, and we're going to manage our own system over here. And basically, it collapsed them. It affected look, here's all I know. The Crusades led to the collapse of the Byzantine Empire.
Okay.
Just, that's what happened. And the Byzantine Empire is when the Roman Empire split in two, right?
Yeah. Yeah, they had the Roman part, and then they had the Roman on the other side of the Gulf or whatever.
Yeah. And we still have the remnants of it today. You have the Orthodox Christians that are the remnants of the Byzantines, and the Roman Christians, which are the Catholics, fighting the same war to this day. So this is what I mean by reverse engineering. How did the Orthodox come about? How did the Catholics come about? There's a history, there's a trail that leads all the way back to an origin point, and you can reverse engineer all this stuff. The entities that we see around us today, that we can go touch, feel, and see for ourselves, there's a direct lineage to their origination point.
So where's the Byzantines? So the Byzantines were the Eastern Europe Roman Empire.
Eastern Roman Empire, right.
Yeah, and then they had the Western Roman Empire.
Yep. And they split over this idea because the papacy, the Bishop of Rome, which is now known as the Pope, was saying that the keys, this is the story anyway, it was really more political and geopolitical. It was really the Europeans took over the papacy, and we're making a run at the Christian church of trying to integrate the Christian, the European states with the Christian church into a singular entity. It's basically like Roman Catholicism was like an early form of globalism. It was an effect to take over, and the factions over in the East were like, yeah, we're not doing that at all. One, it's theologically incorrect, so we'll just fight you in the realm of theology, so we don't have to fight you guys on a battlefield. And they were like, no, okay. You got a bunch of Muslims taking over the Holy Land. Oh, we better go take that back for you and destabilize your entire flank, and then leads to your collapse. And we'll be over here across the Mediterranean and not have to worry about it because they can't really get to us too easily. So, and this leads to today. Why are we so Russo? Why is everyone so anti-Russian? It's weird. Like they're a Christian. Well, it kind of, but it's history. It's history. It's these financialists. They cannot have a second power in competition with them. Like the Soviet Union was under control of Western agents, basically.
Do you think so?
It was set up by us, yeah, by the West, yeah.
Oh yeah,
that's in the history books.
I just have to read. Yeah,
and we're the ones that took out the czars.
Well, what is it? We
funded Lenin.
Russian. Yeah, because we wanted to stop the Lenin. We let him out of prison in Britain.
When I say we, I should say the Europeans, because I'm not them. They funded that to take out the czars, which was like the last lineage of stability in the region, and then basically went into chaos, and they put a bunch of thugs in charge, bring in Stalin, Lenin, Trotsky, and they were chaos agents that destabilized the whole system, and they're only now just starting to recover from that.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's basically all Putin's trying to do is recover from that, rebuild what they had.
I was told, I don't know if this is true, but I've heard this from multiple sources, that it was seen that Putin was having a lot of in-depth talks with Alexander Solzhenitsyn in Solzhenitsyn's final days. And basically Solzhenitsyn told Putin that, the Russian people have suffered enough under this parasitical system, and it's time for us to take back control over our empire to protect our peoples and not fall prey to the Leviathan.
Yeah.
And because Putin's comes out of the KGB.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is Soviet intel service. So that's like, and if you start reading about the Cold War,
the Stasi's and the KGB and the state police.
I mean, the Stasi's were in West Germany, but there was the same entity. Yeah, basically, they just used Germans, which is what Angela Merkel came out of. She was a Stasi agent.
Yeah, Angela Merkel. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, and I mean. And then you look at all the people that are obsessed with taking out Russia today. Those are what we call the neocons. And the neocons are...
So is that what that means when they say neocons? Is they're interested in stopping Russian aggression? Is that...
If you notice the neocons, they play very nice with factions like the UN, the World Bank, the City of London. They go over there and have the CFR... the Council on Foreign Relations, which is basically the City of London's think tank over here. They have videos on YouTube. You can go watch. They have a whole channel. You can go watch. But that's like the neocons are the ones that want to be a part of the global system, the global empire that comes out of Europe.
Oh, yeah. So the only way we can become part of the global empire is by stopping Russian aggression.
Yeah, basically nationalism of having nation states that are sovereign unto themselves, and basically we cut deals and we get rid of this central banking system, this central finance, this middleman that we all have to go through to do cross-border payments with. to do contracts, to make anything happen. Because no country can survive directly on their own. Russia's trying. They've done a pretty good job of it.
They're setting up their own financial alliance, too. Was it
the BRICS?
Russia,
yes.
Russia, China, Brazil,
India, South.
Is it India, too? Okay.
India, yeah, South Africa. Which I don't know if that's another limited hangout. Because the problem is...
What does that mean, limited hangout?
It means you're giving, like... It's like when you're on a game trail and you're trying to... or no, let's say someone's chasing you through the woods. You give them... You may cut some... Like, give yourself a nick of blood, cut it on a tree, run down some paces, backpedal, and then go this way. It's misdirection. It's like... it's a false trail. It looks legit because there's blood, there's the footprints. It looks like a real trail, but it's not really. And they went there, we can see it, but that's not really the thing itself.
It's like it's like over here, but we're really going over here.
Yeah.
This is what we're showing by what we're.
Yeah, or like Epstein. We'll give you Epstein to chew on, so you don't look at everything else.
Yeah, because it's like Charlie Wilson's War. Like it keeps I love that when you have sex and intrigue over here. You can park a battle group over here, and no one will see it.
Yeah, or the Bannon says this because he knows this too. And again, I don't trust Bannon, but he's very interesting to me because he's one of those guys that talks for 4 hours a day that is very much plugged into Trump world.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So if you listen very closely to these folks, they tell you things. You start getting some pattern recognition, especially if you cross-reference them with other people. So that's why I recommend people watch him. Not because you should trust everything he says, but because you get a glimpse into that world.
Well, the thing... I've been watching more of Bannon. I've actually been watching a lot more Alex Jones, but I try to go in open-mindedly and take the information in and be skeptical about it.
Absolutely, yeah.
The thing that scares me is when you get sycophants or they're like,
I know.
Oh, everything he says is gospel.
I know, and it scares you away because it's like I don't want to be a part of a cult. Yeah. Because there's cults that form because that's what people need something to believe in. So you're going to get that wherever you go. So you're correct in identifying that. That's how I feel. That's how I take all of this stuff.
It's like, for a long time, my friends have gotten mad at me because I watch Bill Maher in the weekends.
Right.
And I listen to... I want to build the thing I get tired of is like I watched 2.5, 3 hours of Gavin Newsom just pontificating on all his bullshit. And I'm sitting there going... I want to hear it from myself because I don't want someone to interpret it for me.
Correct. Yep. I tell everyone, watch MSNBC. Watch it religiously.
Oh, yeah.
It's incredible what they do.
The sincerity about what they do. I'm telling you right now, I every time I watch MSNBC, I have to get... I should buy stock in aspirin because it's just... My head hurts.
You either become a Zen monk through watching it, or you will punch your TV screen. Like it's, but once you realize this is warfare through information, you can stand out of it and realize like, okay, now I'm just watching, like I'm just gathering intelligence basically in terms of narrative warfare. Like this is what the massive you can stand outside of it.
It's like
and Fox News, by the way, which is owned by a Australian family called the Murdochs that are very tied into City of London.
Well, the thing that I find interesting, I lost my train of thought. Let me get here.
Sorry, you stand outside of it.
I read this book. God, I sound like I've read a lot of books. I've listened to a lot of books, but propaganda. There was a book about the original concept is about like marketing. Propaganda is a marketing technique, and they wrote a book about it, and it only got a negative content because of what the Germans took that information and did with it to push their agenda program in by using propaganda. And when we read those books about marketing, it's marketing, how you sell your ideas and push them. It's crazy.
Yeah, marketing sounds legit. Propaganda sounds bad. Good thing, bad thing.
But it was called.
It's the same thing.
They're the same entity. They come from
It's
the
same thing.
source.
Yes.
It's like when you look at the name. Have you ever looked into the name? I wanted to, because my mom and dad is always used to say. My dad would say, "I want liberal gun laws," and I'm like, "How come liberal means free and open?" And yet these people are so confining. They want to control everything. And when you go back and look at the history of, they keep changing their name because once you start not liking them, they change their feathers so that way you think they're something else.
We're word monkeys. We need symbols and words to glob onto to bring meaning to something, or else we don't know what we're dealing with, like a math equation. Like we're monkey. Once you realize that, we're monkeys being led around by a string of people that have studied this for hundreds of years, and know exactly what emotional strings to pull on what kind of intelligence group of people, people with certain demographics, predispositions. They cordon everyone off into silos, and they start pulling strings on all this, and now bring AI into this, where they just funnel articles into someone's feed that doesn't know what they're dealing with.
Yeah,
you create a whole paradigm.
Well, they called it algorithms for a long time. Now it's AI funneling.
Exactly. AI is an algorithm. That's correct. Yeah. Yes. It's nothing really new. It's just everyone's more interconnected, and it's more processing power. It's the same scam, just at a larger scale with more power. That's all it is.
The scary
100%.
thing that I've found out is I've been called myself off and on. I've tried to hang out with them, libertarians, and I've been I can call myself a conservatarian, or
you want to be a libertarian, right? But libertarians are just they're idiots.
They're out there. They are like
they're basically like Democrats almost. Like they're more like it's crazy. I don't even know. It's not even a good way to say it. They're just they have oppositional. What's that? It's like a thing where they have oppositional authority syndrome. Someone would correct me. But somebody, that's like someone in authority tells you to do something. You go, no, you're trying to scam me. It's like, and they're just, and they don't want solutions. They just want permanent problems so they can bitch forever.
Yeah. Well, their ideas are so unrealistic.
They don't have solutions.
You cannot have a borderless society. You can.
I don't even hear any of them making that argument today. I think that's like
yeah. Well, no, that's an old one.
Yeah, but they used to. You're right.
John Milius. Have you ever heard of him?
Yeah, the director.
Yeah, he used to call himself.
Yeah, Conan the Barbarian. Yeah.
Oh, and he called himself a Zen anarchist.
Yeah.
He wrote one of my favorite documentaries. What is it? Red Dawn. Oh, he was one of the co-authors of Apocalypse Now.
Yeah. Oh man, I love that movie.
Robert.
The horror. I feel that every day. The horror. I feel like Colonel Kurtz every day. I'm just upriver.
Oh, come on.
Oh, well, without the grand... Well, except I don't have an army of savages to kill anyone that comes upriver. I have yet to start a cult. So, well, maybe I'll get there someday. I'm just kidding. No cults.
I never realized that the song that they played in that movie was Flight of the Valkyrie.
Yeah.
I was like... I've heard the song, and then I watched the movie Valkyrie, and they... Like, oh, is that the name of that music? Is the Valkyrie? Flight of the Valkyrie?
Yeah. Hey, sorry, can you give me 1 minute?
Yeah.
Just take note of the time. Just give me one minute.
You'll figure it out.
All right, thanks. Okay. There is something. Do you have any more to add to that? There is one little piece of news I wanted to throw out there. Not a lot of people have heard
what's
about.
the news?
So the governor of Guam just died under weird circumstances.
Territorial governor?
Yep. There's a casino out there. I don't know the name of it, but there's like between 20 tables, tens of billions of dollars was being funneled through that casino.
Like a laundering?
Mm-hmm. That's a lot of people don't realize about casinos. It's like they can easily double from money laundering operations. It's a way for nation states and entities and corporations to, they lose in a high stakes hand and the money gets to the right place.
Yeah, it's a very easy way of, yeah.
Yeah, here, look that up real quick. Sorry, 1 second.
When did that happen?
I think like a couple days ago. But yeah, it's very, and he was begging for the FBI and like basically for the United States to come in and do investigations because the Chinese were running a ton of money through there. And there's a ton of corruption. And then he just gets offed. Yeah.
Yeah, that's coincidental, huh?
Well, somebody came on Bannon's show yesterday and basically was like, he's a hero to the nation. He's trying to secure our Pacific. And he is a casualty of the Third World War, and he should be honored as such. And she's like a intel agent out there that came on and is like basically doing OSINT, just kind of, I mean, it's propaganda, but still. It's still like, it's something that nobody has covered. I haven't even heard of anyone say, yeah. Well, this specific event, no one's talking. This is not in any news stream at all. But it's a sign of what's happening out there. And as you see Chinese expansion moving outwards, it doesn't mean. So this all being said, that Europe is our enemy. It doesn't mean that we can't take our eyes off of what the Chinese have done, because basically, the Chinese government was set up by the Continentals in the same way that the Soviet Union was, the CCP was. What I think has happened...
The governor hasn't died.
Are you sure about that?
Let's see.
Yeah.
It says it's Lu Lan, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
She's been the governor since 2019.
No, the CNMI governor Palacios dead at 69.
I typed in Guam, right? G-U...
Yeah, the Commonwealth of the Northern Mariana Islands, Governor Arnold I Palacios died Wednesday night.
Mariana Islands.
Of the North, which includes Guam. So you're looking at Guam proper. Okay, sorry, my bad. I'm talking about like the region, because it's the Marianas. Like Guam is a part of the Marianas.
It's the northern end, yeah. Over by Tinian and all that stuff.
Yeah. No, sorry, I misspoke. It's the governor of the Marianas and Guam, and yeah. At the recommendation, Palacios was medevac to Guam from Saipan Wednesday afternoon at the recommendation of the Commonwealth Healthcare Corporation following a medical incident. The Commonwealth, you know what I mean? Here's a key phrase for everyone to pay attention to: the term Commonwealth.
The Mariana Islands is a territory of the United States.
It's also a Commonwealth. What does that mean?
I tried to figure out the relationship with them.
British Empire.
It's our extended empire.
It's a part of their extended empire, yes. Yeah, always has been. Because we've been a part of their extended empire. Legally, this is where people get hung up on admiralty law and all that stuff. Like, admiralty law is like over the seas and the oceans.
Well, basically, Guam is like for better terms, it's like United States island. It's a carrier, basically. It's been ruled by the government. Yeah, it's a complicated history.
I'm basically saying that, yes, it was like out of World War II, but I'm saying that we've been used as a proxy for these financialists in the city of London to expand the British Empire. Geographically, we're the muscle.
Yeah, okay.
Now, I'm not saying this is... You can't look at the world in black and white when we're looking at this stuff. It's all gray. But we have to be aware that that's what is basically happened. Because this legend that we have authority over any of this, that the authority goes down to the people legally, is just not true.
Yeah. That's the problem that they don't like, is Trump is trying to restore the federalist system.
Maybe.
Well,
or he's restructuring as best he can. Yes, and because that's, well, Americans are raised to believe that, democracy is a real thing, and, But here's the other problem. Let's say it is a real thing. And democracy is a very useful thing if you can retard your population and completely divorce them from their history so they don't know basic things like this.
Yeah. So what was that? Northern Mariana Island? Because everything I'm reading says Guam is a separate from them.
I might have misremembered. I'm sorry. I think it was because he was medevac to Guam that I got that. I don't think I said that accurately.
Was he like the governor of Saipan or something?
No, I'm not sure. No, he's the Commonwealth of the Northern Marianas Islands. There was a casino there, and this is just a part of the third island chain outside. Because you pull up. I don't know if I should do this, but you kind of have to look at a map of the Pacific Ocean to understand this, because this is a region that we are just not taught about.
Yeah,
because it's like a vast wilderness of just water.
It's huge.
Yeah, here, this will assist this image here. So this is basically what cordons off the world island from the Americas. Consider these like moats. Yeah. What do we got? We got Taiwan, Philippines, South Korea, and then Japan, and the second island chain with the Marianas Islands. And this really has more to do with trade routes than anything, and like who gets to do business with who. And the Chinese, Hong Kong, the British had that under control. And then Beijing, it's like the families of China are making a play at taking back their sovereignty, and they're coming in at our empire. Okay. And this is what kind of held them at bay.
The Northern Marianas Island territory.
Yeah, and then Guam is south. Yeah. It's very interesting when you look at national flags. So Australia, obviously you got the British Imperial insignia there. The Southern Cross and North Star, right there.
Where?
Bermuda, British insignia, British.
Yeah. The one that gets me is why Canada is so engraved with the British Empire, why they don't have the flag on there.
Well, you just have to look at the War of 1812 to understand how that happened. They're a part. The Queen is on their currency. Well, they swear allegiance to the King and Queen to this day. That never changed. They're a part of the British Empire. They're a part of the British Commonwealth. It's linguistic. Instead of empire, it's Commonwealth. See how that works? Mm-hmm. Okay. Chile, kind of similar to certain flags that we might know and love. Rica, Cuba. Yeah, I'm looking for, certain pattern recognition here, Boom, boom.
What's interesting is depending on the slant of the paper, they keep saying that, if it's, because he's a Republican too.
Malaysia, come on. Oh, I'm sorry, you're not seeing, man, I'm an idiot.
Yeah, I was wondering what you're talking about.
Yeah, my bad.
Australia. The one that gets me about that is the Australian and the New Guinea flags are so close.
Yeah. Well, because it's a part of the Commonwealth. Who controlled New Guinea? Britain.
I know, but it's like you, as an American, you look at it and you're like, sure this isn't Australia?
The Caymans.
The stars are red or some shit like that.
No, it's all like that, and literally they have to put their tag on their brand on there just so everyone knows, Canada's got their stupid leaf, which just I feel like that honestly is to just make them a bunch of like to make it impossible for them to have national pride. Yeah, we'll give them a freaking maple leaf. Just let them suck on that, you know?
Well, and that's total patronizing. That's where's all that stuff done? It's eastern Canada.
Yeah. Cook Islands, Cuba, Costa Rica. I would say that's Falklands, of course, Fiji, Hard, the Heard Islands, McDonald. Of course, there's Israel. Isle of Man's hilarious. That's a very interesting story. Just to look into one day. It's interesting history. Area. I mean, come on. Malaysia, get out of here. What are we talking about? I mean, we just go through this whole thing.
See, look at New Zealand right there. New Zealand? Yeah, New Zealand.
Yeah.
It's the same freaking flag.
Yeah, it's a part of the British Commonwealth. To this day. They swear allegiance to the Queen and they're part of the common law system. Yeah. They just control it basically through bureaucracy and finance at this point. They don't need armies.
Yeah.
That's interesting. Never seen that one before. Samoa. See, that's like, and then that's you also American see many
territory.
Well, exactly. Yeah. You know?
Well, there's two Samoas. There's American Samoa and then the Samoan Islands.
Right. Georgia, Taiwan. Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at. Taiwan. I mean, and then that the map of the island chain, and Taiwan is right off the coast holding off. And what's our biggest worry right now? We got mass armaments they're ready to move on Taiwan. Our freaking outpost over there.
Yeah, we're refurbishing cannons and sending them all over there so they can fight off the Russian. Not the Russians, but
BVI.
Back up a little bit. What is that? The United States Minor Outlying Islands?
Yeah, that's I don't know. It's like a series of islands out in the Pacific. There's like a bunch of them.
Yeah, that's all the
So the point is that we're a continuation of that empire, okay? That's like we're a proxy for them.
That's the Mariana Islands, Saipan, Tinian, Guam. Those are all the outer...
Yeah, probably, yeah. And the question is, are we really making a run at breaking away from this system, or is this all kayfabe professional wrestling to make us feel that that's what's happening, and they're going to take their loot and reallocate it somewhere else? That's where I'm at. I'm not sure. I don't know. All I know is these people have been at this game for, as far as I can tell, a couple thousand years. And when I say these people, what?
They just keep passing their little interest onto their kids and all that stuff.
Kind of. It's actually beyond families. Like, it is, there certainly are very old families involved. This is why I was trying to talk about these matriarchal lineages that go back 900 years. And, I mean, they're very old. And they have a way of passing their wealth, because who lives longer than men? Typically the women.
Yeah. Because men like to do stupid crap.
Yeah, they get off on going to wars and being big, hot, hot shots and doing crazy, and women just sit back and glean in the wealth. And this is not about women per se. There's a lot of men involved with this too, but it's more to do with this estrogenic way of combat. Instead of going out and fighting, get these stupid idiots to go fight for you. And then just loot everything. The thing that makes an estrogen mind the way it works is they don't build anything. They just take. Because there's a scarcity mentality instead of a productivity mentality. Which is very counterproductive, you would think, because women literally produce life. So you'd be like, well, why are they so scared of losing resources? Well, they're in competition with testosterone, and testosterone tends to win out in a head-to-head fight.
Pretty much, yeah.
You have testosterone cultures and estrogenic cultures. We used to all be testosterone cultures for the most part. And then once people got empires and kingdoms built up, estrogenity, complacency, war, Game of Thrones, playing people off against each other, doing Machiavellian games, financing certain systems, playing both sides of wars, and then so that you have both your bets covered and then you cover the winner. like with the Rothschilds and how they funded both the British and the French. It's a smart move, but it lacks any sense of loyalty. Right? They're totally amoral. They're not loyal. They don't care about their people, which is kind of funny because you would think that, the motherly mind would want to care for their children. But as we can see in our lived experience, that women, when they're left to their own devices, and there's many exceptions, and I have nothing against women, but if they don't have a man in their life, well, men left unbridled create chaos, but nothing like a woman can, because women have children.
Yeah.
And women can force multiply their own insanity onto their children way more effectively than men can. Because we tend to not have ownership over our children. The women tend to. Any married man will tell you this. Any divorced, anybody who's had children will tell you, yeah, the woman pretty much runs the show. And we're just scared in the corner trying to figure out how to deal with it. Now, I'm not saying that with my wife. Like, me and her, like, we have a pretty good rapport because I'm pretty honest about how I feel about certain things, and we've found a good balance. And she appreciates the fact that I'm pretty candid about certain things, but I also respect what she brings to the table. So it's not like some tyranny, you know what I mean? I don't, but it's also not ultimately a democracy in my house. And she doesn't want it to be either. Like, when trouble comes around, she wants somebody there to deal with it.
Yeah, that's pretty much what most women want.
Right, of course. As they should. Like, I'm not like resentful over it. It makes sense to me. That's the natural order of things, of course. That's why we're made to be, men, and they're women, They have a whole other set of problems they have to deal with. Why do they have to deal with all these other things, I couldn't do both. So that's why we got split. Anyway, point is, that reflects up to the nation state. Yeah. And geopolitics. It's very deep. This goes so deep. And everything ties into each other is really what I'm trying to get at. So, but once you start following the money and where the money is coming from and where it's going, you're going to stop falling for this kayfabe professional wrestling narrative that you're seeing. And I'm not talking to you, Cody. I'm talking to everyone else. But
yeah, it's you as
yeah, you, the royal you. And me as well, because I still, every now and again, I find somebody's narrative. I'm like, oh yeah, I'll buy into that. That sounds good. Just come find out it's only a limited hangout. It's not the full picture. So we're never going to have the full picture, but at the same time, let's not be naive. You know what I mean? So there's a fine line somewhere, and I'm trying to find it. So that's really what I was trying to convey tonight. So
I think we did pretty good, just the two of us, unsupervised. Tonight.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you.
I had a lot of fun, and I think we're getting a little bit better at finding things.
One more flag I want to show. That's something we need to talk about someday.
The flag of Antarctica?
Yeah, we need to talk about that place. Very strange. Weird place. Uncle Glenn had a lot to do with Antarctica.
Really?
Yeah.
You ever go down there?
Hell, no one can go down there. That's why everyone thinks there's a flat Earth. We can't go down there. It's the ice wall. I'm not saying that's what I believe. I'm saying that's like, it's literally, you cannot, there's one airport and you need like special clearance. And even the people that go down there, you get limited. You can't go. It's a barren wasteland of like negative 100 degrees. So you can't go places. It's crazy. It's not that much, but you know what I mean?
I want to go down there just because I had a relative with the last name Bakewell that was part of the first expedition down there, so we got an island named after us, Bakewell Island.
I think that would be a great episode to do, an Antarctica episode, and really there's so many other spin-offs you could do off of Antarctica. I mean, there's so much lore that's legit, and it ties into, believe it or not, the JFK assassination and aliens.
Oh man, we can hit all the topics.
Yeah, Antarctica is a nice keystone for a lot of fun things. All right. Well, I'm good. Are you?
Yeah, sorry. I've been up since 5 o'clock this morning. I'm starting to run on deep.
Yeah, no, I'm done. This went way later than I expected. I'm sorry.
No, it's fine. I'm having a blast. So cool. All right, guys, if you got this far, we really appreciate it. There'll be links to the books that we talked about in the description. And I really appreciate you coming and doing this with me tonight. Collin, this was pretty cool. It was kind of impromptu.
I love it.
And then
It's fun.
look for us on Spotify, podcast, Apple Podcast, and YouTube. So, thank you guys.